Yo, 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 what's good? Welcome to Counter Currents. This is your host, Petey Steele.
And your co-host, Elena Torres. And our guest today, he's another one in the club that I've heard of for a long time. Probably one of those even where people would say his name and I'm like, yeah, I know him, but never met him before. Please welcome the hilarious comedian, Tommy Sinbazo.
Yay! Hi, everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good to be here. You're another one where I hear your name all over the place, but we've never crossed paths.
I know.
Meanwhile, I can't get rid of Petey.
I know. I'm not new to this piece of shit neither.
Did you guys start at the same time?
I'm just glad you're not.
You're glad I'm not what?
Well, where did I meet it? I don't know where I met Petey. I've known Petey for
I remember.
as long as Petey's been doing comedy. I've known Petey.
Yeah, the cellar door in Frederick.
There you go.
2012.
Man, you have a much better memory than I do.
Yeah, man. Long time ago. But yeah, it was great. You've always been like kind of a mentor to me out of the, 10 or so people I can ask trade questions for and all that shit. So I appreciate it. It's been great watching you continue to grow,
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. I have a Hulu special coming out later this year.
You do?
I
Wow.
don't know if you guys know. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And I got that from it was a guy I did shows for 6 years ago in DC. And he reached out and he said, hey, man, I now have a job working with Adam Carolla's distribution company. Do you want a comedy special? And I was like, okay. Of course, so he told me that he was like, yeah, the date is February. It was like the first week of February. We were right 2 weeks away from the end of January in the middle. So I hit every open mic, got every guest spot I could up until then. I did the comedy special on a Sunday. I had COVID by Wednesday.
No way.
Yep. And spent the next 5 days in the hospital with COVID.
You went to the hospital with it?
Yeah.
I'm so glad you're okay. What kind of symptoms did you have?
I felt fine, just like a little run down. But my fiance's niece brought over an oxygen sensor, and you're supposed to be like above 92, and I was at like 89. So, and then in the hospital, they just put me on oxygen for 5 days, and they said, okay, you have a small pneumonia in your lung, and then they addressed my diabetes. It was a whole thing. Wow. It was very boring. And here's the kicker: I didn't have health insurance at the time.
Oh shit!
No.
Because it's COVID, do you get like some sort of waive or did you have to pay for all that?
I hope so. I hope that you get the COVID bump. I hope they're like, no, COVID, you're good. That'll be cool. So I don't have to fake my own death.
Yeah. Wow. So no bills have arrived yet, I take it.
Not yet.
How does that work? I mean, do they wait till like FY22 before they tell you your life's over or what?
Well,
this was my first.
Was this February 2020 or February 2021?
2021.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So luckily it was at the back end of COVID where, but talking to the nurses in there, they said that she said that when last year at that same time, they were working in a elder care facility. And she said that the people would wake up in the morning, have breakfast and be dead by dinner. And they had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Fucking bananas. My old man, I mean, he was staying in kind of like a subsidized community and for older people. And I remember calling over there to be like, what gives? Because we'd gotten him out of there and taken him to his place in Florida. And they were like, oh yeah, nobody here contracted it here, but 2 people had to go to like rehabs for falls or things like that. And they caught it in the other facilities and died.
Yeah.
So it's like, bam.
Yeah.
That fast.
Is it special an hour?
I'm doing a lot of.
Because that's.
Yeah. Luckily, it's an hour. It's my farewell special. It's my in memoriam.
Yeah.
Very special episode.
I'm calling it Tommy Sinbazo in the Arms of the Angels.
Where did you record it?
Arlington Cinema Draft House.
Awesome.
Right here at our
yeah.
spot.
I'm surprised no one told us, Pete.
Yeah, we should have had you on.
I made it. The post that I made about it got a lot of like comments. Okay, a lot of people said, "I see this," and good for you.
Yeah, I may have even liked it and forgot already. I apologize.
But we're to the point now because they said that what they're going to do is take the audio from it and make an album and put that out on Spotify and CD Baby and Sirius. And so they've already had me scrub through the metadata where I listened to the raw audio and said, okay, from this timestamp to this timestamp, this is called this joke. This from this timestamp to this timestamp is this joke. You have to edit it because we restarted the joke in the middle of it. And then I sent them that. And then this week they messaged me back asking about if I had any ideas for album art. So I sent them some art and I'm waiting to hear back from that.
Cool.
Nice.
That's awesome. And filming a special, how did you do it? Was it like one and done, or did you get like several tries at the hour with the camera? How did that work?
They basically had a 3-camera setup. One was focused on me. The other 2 was getting crowd shots and other reactions. Right. And they said, they were like, hey, if you flub a joke, just stop, go back and redo it. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. I'm not going to do that. I did that 3 times. Okay. And then at the end, they were like, hey, there's some stuff where you did a lot of big motion. That we want to go back and have you redo it and get it from different camera angles. So, and then afterwards they came up and said, hey, that was great. The only problem is we didn't start recording audio until 4 minutes in. So we need you to do the first 4 minutes again. And within 3 minutes, I had a crowd work bit that I had to try to get this woman to say exactly what she said before. God, it was such a nightmare to try to prod this woman. Yeah, so we're gonna see how it turns out.
Really did the full hour one time, because like a lot of the Netflix ones, like I know when Dave Chappelle was in DC, he did the same set, but he did it for like 10 days, 3 times.
Yeah. And you just wear the same outfit, and then they just splice it all together.
That's right.
Yeah, I wish
the best.
That would have been cool. I really like that. But my goal, like every year, I set myself new comedy goals, something that I want to accomplish that year in comedy. And my goal for this year was to have a special. And I had, I was working on stuff of my own, footage that I had from other shows. Like I had one show that was supposed to be part of a documentary, but no, the documentary never got made. I got all the raw camera feeds and direct mic audio, and I was like, I'll do it myself. Come to find out, I was missing 30 seconds of camera coverage. And so I decided, okay, well, I'll just animate. There's Adobe Character Animator is dummy easy to use. So I paid an illustrator to make a cartoon character of me in that outfit. And I was just going to animate another camera feed to do. But then once I got into that, I had audio from another show where it was a 45-minute set that was just all about my past. I'm at work, my drug history, my drugs that I had tried. Funny stories about that. It was a great set. So I planned on taking that direct mic audio then and just animating that audio with the intention that it be watched while on hallucinogens. So, so I was planning all that, and then the next week I got a message from the guy saying, hey, do you want a special? So I still have 2 other specials on the back burner that I might end up release this year.
So could you watch this special and turn the audio down and just put on Dark Side of the Moon and be like, fine?
Yeah, that's a great. I'm going to make it sync up to a Weird Al album. It's not going to be Dark Side of the Moon. You have to listen. It syncs up to even worse.
That's awesome. Well, how long have you been doing comedy total? What's the tally of years?
I did 8 in my 20s. I started doing improv, and I did 8 years improv. And then the improv troupe turned into a short film troupe. And then that got turned, well, actually that improv troupe got turned into a sketch troupe. And then that became a short film troupe. And then I was so far away from doing comedy that I told him, I was like, I gotta go. And then I left there and started doing stand-up, and that was 15 years ago. So I've been doing 15 years stand-up and then 8 years improv.
So do you feel that it was kind of a happy accident that you started stand up? Like otherwise you'd still be in the same improv troupe for 23 years?
Well, no, I knew I wanted to leave because, like I said, I'd always wanted to do stand up. I'd always wanted to be a stand up comedian. And then I went to college with Violet Gray. You guys know Violet Gray?
Yeah, Dorian. Yeah.
I went to college with Dorian, and Dorian got me. He was like, "Hey, you need to start doing improv with me." And I was like, "Okay." So I went to improv, and then after a year of that, he left to go to start doing stand up, and I stayed in for another 7 years. And then I was actually I had it in my heart that I wanted to leave this troupe. And that's when he was like, it's time that you start stand up. And I was like, okay. So we started hitting open mics and everything. T. Brad Hudson's room, Drink Till We're Funny at High Tops. Or Damon's Bar and Grill before that. Yeah.
I never was at Damon's, but yeah. Wow. T. Brad taking it back.
Yeah.
Yeah, way before my time.
Well, back then there was only in Baltimore, that was the only open mic in Baltimore, unless you could get in at the Comedy Factory or win the Magooby's New Talent Showcase. There was only really one room. So we would hit that weekly. And then, I mean, now the past 5 or 6 years, there's been such an explosion in the area of, bar shows, open mics and everything. So there's really a much larger community now.
Yeah. And you've seemed to have kind of like risen beyond it, but still kind of stayed tethered to the Baltimore roots. I'm looking at your jacket of pins now, and I see you have your Under Armour right on it.
I have a show tonight. This is a show jacket.
Okay, good.
No, but my whole thing was when I was starting out and coming up, there really wasn't anybody to ask questions to. About what to do. Hey, where can I get headshots? What's a bio? There wasn't really anyone to ask that. So once once the community started to really blossom, maybe even 8 years ago, I really started I wanted to be the person I wish was in the scene when I was going up, where it was someone that I put on a free 4-week seminar at Magooby's on Wednesday nights. It was an electronic press kit seminar. And it was just telling everybody I had Andrew come in, say what he looks for in demos. Here's how you film a demo. I had everybody pair off into writing partners to write bios for themselves. Because I thoroughly believe that whereas I would love to say that comedy is a merit-based system, it's not. Often it's the loudest voice in the room. If you're able to sell yourself, you'll go further than a person who can crush. And so you're the business side of your comedy, you're the product that you're selling, that has to grow along with your set. So anytime anybody gives shit to an open micer because they have headshots or business cards, it's like, well, I mean, it's funny now until a booker asks for a headshot and a business card and you don't have it. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when you told me that same thing in 2014, how you went to Tom Simmons and he said, yeah, hey, do you have a clip for your TV set? And you were like, oh, I don't have that. And he was like, that's a business plan or something like that.
Yeah. He was like, oh, that's a great plan. He was like, man, I'd love to hear your TV set. And I was like, I don't have a TV set. And he was like, oh, that's a good plan. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, I guess I should try to make myself more marketable.
Well, it's amazing. I mean, you see people that make themselves marketable that aren't even all that great, and they still take off, I mean, I don't want to name the same person that I think we all know, but he's got his leather coat, his well-parted hair, and 3 albums.
Let's call him Mom Tires. No, but he as much as people shit on him, he really knows what he's doing about how to sell himself and how to take his product. I say that he's worked every room in America once. I mean, he's not coming back, but he gets his foot in the door. I've often said that funny doesn't get you booked. Funny gets you booked again. So it's all that groundwork and getting and contacting bookers and getting your foot in the door. And then once you actually get on that show, then you have to back up then you have to cash the check that your mouth wrote. So
that's so true. Actually, that's such a good, I'm going to take that with me. Funny doesn't get you booked. Funny gets you booked again. Because that's so true. And it's funny you're talking about all this because I know your headshot, like just from Facebook or whatever. Like I know your headshot, and it's a very memorable choice. Who did that for you, and how did you come up with that?
That was that all stemmed from my first headshot. Dave Schofer did my first headshot. Do you know who Dave Schofer is?
No.
Dave Schofer at the time was a booker and has stopped booking comedy. He booked Uncle Dave's comedy show. It was, what was it? Uncle Dave's
comedy. Yeah, Uncle Dave comedy.
Yeah, Uncle Dave comedy, which is like, okay, it's creepy enough. You might as well call yourself right. But we went out to Kaysville Community College and he took some pictures of me. And my first headshot, I found a piece of caution tape on the ground and I tied it around my mouth. And that got me so much bullshit from other comics that I was like, well, at least it's a headshot. Right. And then I found Travis Marshall is one of my other favorite photographers in Baltimore. And Travis did headshots for me. And really, I mean, that headshot, I love my headshot now. And but also that was another thing I did with the electronic press kit, the EBK classes. Since I had a group of comics together, I reached out to area photographers and said, hey, can you give a group discount to do this group of comics for headshots? So they were getting like 6 headshots for $30 from really good photographers.
Right.
But yeah, you have to, and it's all about, I've taken some business of comedy classes where about branding and everything. And did you like Steve Hofstetter? He apparently only wears the color blue. And because his colors are orange and blue. All of his marketing is orange and blue. Everything is orange and blue. He just picked 2 colors. And I tried to call bullshit on him, but I couldn't prove that he doesn't wear orange and blue. So
I mean, as far as if we're gonna name names, I mean, I think the biggest genius actually that I know with marketing, I don't know if you know her, is Paris Sachet. I mean, she's a great comedian also.
Oh yeah.
But her marketing is like, I mean, and the more I do comedy, the more I'm in awe of like what a good system she's created. Like her look is super memorable. You know,
well, I've worked with her twice, and each time, apparently the first time I worked with her, I said, hi, hey Paris, I'm Tommy Sinbazo. And then the second time I worked with her, I said, hey Paris, I'm Tommy Sinbazo. She was like, we've already met before. But then I looked back and she totally changed her look now, totally. And so I didn't recognize her. And one, she has the funny to back it up, and 2, has the business acumen that she deserves everything that she's getting.
Yeah. Well, I've heard that from several people that she did not used to look the way that she does now. And I think she's someone who her comedy, you know, she worked on her comedy and then the look came second, but it's like, it's so well thought out. I mean, every piece of it. And like the difficult thing, especially when you're a woman with like comedy looks, is like, you can't overdress it, but you can't underdress it, and finding like the right look, because you're going from like a theater show to some like shitty mic where like the floor is sticky. So like you can't wear like heels. Like it's a very hard, you know, for like women's, but I think men too. Like for fashion wise, I feel like that's been something I've struggled with. Like, how do I work an outfit that can go in all the different places that comedy will take you in one night and keep it memorable the whole time, where it doesn't look like you're trying too hard?
Well, that's another thing with female comedians, that the only time that I've ever heard the criticism has been about a female comedian. It was like, are you trying to be funny or are you trying to be sexy? And that, you know, you don't get, guy comics don't get that.
Yeah. And it's like, I think that's a sad trope, is like, you get, and also I have had the issue where I've sort of like overdressed, where I've looked almost too good for something, and it's way harder to get laughs. And it's simple outfit choices, like, you got to wear black, or, you know, like wearing dark colors, or, you know, nothing with like a floral print, like shit like that. Then it makes a huge
When I first started, when I first started, I read Steve Martin's biography, Born Standing Up, right? And in it, he says, use everything in your act, use everything that you know how to do, right? And so oh God, there are pictures of me. I used to go on stage wearing red plaid punk pants. Like I had a bunch of different colors of plaid pants. I would wear a shirt that matched, that had colors that matched the pants. I'd wear a bandana that matched the pants, and I wore a bowler cap, and I used to carry a bongo drum on the stage with me.
I was going to mention that. I'd heard the bongo
Wow.
stories. I didn't know if that was true or false.
Yeah. And what happened was, it wasn't until I stopped wearing that stuff that I was then able to connect to the audience.
Right.
Because before I just looked like a clown, and I was having trouble making that connection to the audience to get them to laugh with me.
Right.
Once you spruced up and got those Ted Kaczynski specs and that jean jacket, yeah, it was fucking smooth sailing from there on
Once
out.
I grew this mustache, things started changing.
But like, what I always wonder that with people who use like prop comics or people who like need a prop for their joke, it's like you got to carry that shit around just so much. Like, what if you forget it?
Well, that's when Steve Martin said use everything. I build things. I build all sorts of weird crap. Here's my bag that I carry around. Like this, I made this bag, and like it's got purple liner in it and everything. Like this took me 3 months to make this bag. My joke book, I just make things. And I used to make my own. Huh?
I remember you built like LARP stuff. You made like a mechanical dragon that like blew fire and shit like that, right? Yeah, I have Pootie. I have a dragon named Pootie that I built. But I went back. God, this Pootie. There was one time I had this idea for a bit. I went and bought a 2-foot double-headed dildo, and I built a rig where it would strap to the inside of my thigh, and the end of it had fishing twine that connected to a ring on my hand. And so if I raised my hands up, it would pull 1.5 feet of dick out of the front of my pants, and it was puppeted by my hand. And this is back when we were doing Damon's, like a rib joint in Hunt Valley, an open mic. And I got up and I was like, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank everyone for coming here, but mostly I want to thank my Lord and Savior, Jesus. And when I raised my hand, 1.5 feet of dick came out, and there's families with kids eating ribs. It got nothing. It was so fucking quiet in there. And then I couldn't I had to go to the bathroom to put it away. So I had to walk through this crowd to put this dick away. And I never used it. That was when I was like, I'm never doing a prop again.
That's what it took, a 2-foot dick at a rib place.
I had a bongo drum. I had this big conga drum that I would only use for one bit, and I could raise it up and pull a string, and it would shoot confetti out of it at a rib joint. And I was like, yeah, this maybe might not be the scene for this. So
do you remember when we worked, what was it, the Baltimore Comedy Factory for Teddy Carpenter back in 2014? And he put us out of the green room. He just wanted it for himself and for whatever visitors he had coming back or whatever. We pretty much got relegated to like the whites only stairwell on the way to the stage, you know? And the whole time you were like carving out some kind of like, I don't know what it was. It seemed to have kind of like a Navajo element to it or whatever. It was
I was tooling leather for something. Yeah. And just pass time by tooling leather. I tell you, the person who put me out of the green room that I really didn't mind was I worked with Pauly Shore, and Pauly Shore is one of those guys where he's like, he doesn't want anybody in the green room. So the first night I wasn't in the green room. Second night I wasn't in the green room, and he actually came out. He was like, hey man, I got some food. You want some food? And I was like, sure, I'll come in. And we're sitting there eating, and apparently, I don't believe that he grew up in the Comedy Store without some comic telling him to chew with his fucking mouth closed. Because the whole time he's just eating like, and I'm like, can I please leave the room, Pauly? Like, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you, buddy. Quit wheezing those chicken tenders.
I actually that would be, I feel like that's the ultimate sign that you've been raised by comics. Like they forgot to teach him how to chew with his fucking mouth closed. Like that sounds about right.
No, I mean, you can't tell me that like Richard Pryor didn't once tell him, "Shut your fucking mouth, kid." Like, or maybe they were like,
So fucked
"Let
up
him
back
chew
then.
like that. It's gonna drive people crazy."
They were so fucked up back then at the store, like all the comics. Like he was basically
That's
raised
true.
by people who were just like on coke at all times. That's what I mean. That's what he said in that Comedy Store documentary. He's like, I saw everybody and I didn't do drugs because of all the crazy shit I saw.
Well, maybe they just said, you know what? If we talk slick to him, his mother will never give us another spot. So we'll just
That's
let him
right.
be
Yeah.
an asshole.
That's right. They were
You
like,
know?
"Keep chewing like that, bud. Louder."
Well, how about
can't
Tommy
hear
the
you
time? I love this story. Speaking of all your great leather work and such, with Ralphie May. Do you remember this story?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I worked with Ralphie May for a weekend. God rest his soul.
Yep.
And I thought I had great fucking set because there was times where Ralphie, I would be on stage about ready to bring him up and they'd be like, stretch. It's because it was taking Ralphie so long to walk across the parking lot from his tour bus to the front door that I had to stretch and do more material. But every show I thought I did great. They were nice and warmed up for him. And I remember I was back in the green room and Ralphie's manager came back to the green room and was like, "Hey, Tommy, Ralphie wants to see you out on the stage." And I was like, "Okay." Now this is the end of the night. I go there and Ralphie's just laying on the stage, vaping weed. And he was like, "Uncle Tommy, I'm gonna make you rich, Uncle Tommy." And I was like, "Oh, Ralphie, this is such a big honor. I'm very humbled." He was like, "Yeah, can you make me a shirt out of leather?" And I was like, "Out of cow?" Like, what? He didn't want anything to do with my comedy. He just wanted me to make a fucking shirt out of leather. God damn.
Wow, that's a lot of leather. That's an expensive.
Yeah, that's how many cows are you gonna wear, Ralph?
Yeah. You need the whole cow for that. Maybe
He pulls up the hood and it's still got like horns on it.
Yeah.
He buttons it has udders. No, I didn't make it for him. He died before I even thought about doing it. Like he died maybe 2 or 3 months after I worked with him. So, and I didn't want to do it. That's not the kind of leather work I do. I don't do giant shirts.
Yeah.
I'm above doing giant shirts.
Yeah.
Is there a leather patch big enough to like just cut out a sheath for Ralphie May?
No, I would have
to
that thing would
stitch up
cost
a whole bunch of shit.
It would have cost me so much money and materials that I'd be like, "Ralphie, this is a $2,000 shirt," because I had to hand stitch all this.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah. So no, but he was a great guy. Ralphie's a good guy.
The stories that comics have for opening for all these people, but you can't really, it's scary because you can't really tell a lot of them.
Just come
Because
see
you
me.
want to keep working. And then I feel like with his mouth, do you have any other good ones of people you opened for? You don't have to name them if you don't want to.
I'm trying to think. I just did a drop-in set for Whitney Cummings when she came to Magoobies. Well, so I was supposed to do a live podcast for this another podcast, happy hour podcast, and he wanted to do a live show, but didn't have any equipment to do a live show. And when we were doing our podcast, Laugh Finder, out of Magoobies, we have a mobile studio with 7 mics and everything at Magoobies. So I went to Magoobies on a Thursday night to just grab my equipment. Parking lot is packed. Had to park like the next parking lot over. As I'm walking in, there's Mike Quinlan, comedian Mike Quinlan. I'm like, "Hey, who's here?" And he was like, "Oh, it's Whitney Cummings." And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I go in, the show's already started, so I can't get my stuff out of the back. I know I have to wait till the end of the night to get all my stuff. So I go in and meanwhile, when I walk in, her feature act is crushing. Guy, high energy, just crushing. I didn't catch his name. Doing a great job. But so I went to the bar, Wits End, where I was hanging out with other comics, and there was a open mic there. So we're all shooting the shit. And apparently Quinlan actually went to Magoobies to ask Andrew Unger, the owner of Magoobies, if he could do a guest spot for Whitney. And he was like, no guest spots. We're not doing any guest spots. So it turns out that Whitney's flight was late and they lost her luggage. So she was running an hour behind. So they needed someone to fill time, and Quinn, apparently, Andrew came walking out right over to me and Mike, pushed Mike out of the way to ask me if I would do time on Whitney's, for Whitney. And he was like, "Can you do 5 minutes?" I was like, "I'll do 5." He was like, "Do 10." I was like, "Okay, I'll do 10." He was like, "Just keep doing material until we tell you to stop." And I was like, "Okay." So I just got up, and I mean, the crowd was already piping hot, and I did really great. And I heard that Whitney was another one of those that doesn't want comics in the green room, or she didn't want. Apparently, she didn't want comics in the hallway, watching the show and stuff. So when she came on the stage, I was like, "Ladies and gentlemen, Whitney coming." She came up, and I just went out the other way. I just went off the stage, and I never talked to her, never did anything. Got my equipment at the end of the night and left. That's it.
Wow. So she doesn't even let you really watch her?
Apparently not. Apparently, we kept being told that comics couldn't stand in the hallway. We couldn't wait in the green room to hang out or anything. So, I mean, hey, everybody's got their own particulars.
Right. Well, that's something I've also learned. I feel like opening for people is like, I think when I first started opening for people, I was way too chatty.
Mm-hmm.
And they need to focus on, they're about to do an hour, like they need to focus on their shit. Like that's something I feel like I've learned is just to like, shut the fuck up. Like, it's just not about you. Just like, shut the fuck up.
That's the thing. I'll get the fuck out. I'll get the crowd nice and hot for you.
That's right.
Don't worry about it. But right. I do. We had Brian Posehn when he came to town once, and I got on the bill with him at the Auto Bar, like a different showroom. And then when he started coming to Magooby's every year, that's when I asked Andrew. I was like, "Can I get on the show?" And I would host for Brian when he came. And then the last time he came to town, he had booked Denise Richards out of DC, like his manager. She has a manager, and so they booked Denise. Is her name Denise Richards? Denise
Taylor?
Denise Taylor. Yeah. Sorry. So, but they booked her, and I was like, "Yeah, I know Denise. That's pretty cool that we get to work together." And he was like, "I thought she was from like California or something." I was like, "No, she's from like DC. She's actually very good comic here in the area." And he was like, "Well, next time, how about you just feature for me?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did it all the time and ever." And he plays D&D, and we had him on our D&D podcast. We played D&D with him and stuff.
Oh, and cool.
I took him out for sandwiches every time he comes.
Nice.
So, yeah.
See, there you go. That's another, you just got to be, if you're funny, and that's the marketing. You have stuff in common. You have.
Yeah. You got to be a good hang. If you're a good hang, then they'll want to work with you.
Yeah. Well, there's good hang, and then like there's also chemistry. Like there's some comics you meet that are just like, this is.
Well, I
tell you.
Yeah.
The person who I had the most chemistry with was Tim Meadows. I worked with Tim Meadows, and we got along like peas and carrots.
I love.
And then the next time he came to town, like we were at the Comedy Factory in Baltimore, and I told him he was like, "Is this like the best room?" And I was like, "Well, personally, my favorite room is Magooby's, which is like 15 minutes down the road." And he was like, "Do you think you could try to get me in there?" And I was like, "You're Tim Meadows. I mean, I get." But his own manager got him in there, and he brought his own feature. So it didn't matter, and he barely remembered me. So here I am thinking, "Oh man, Tim Meadows is my best friend," and he was like, "And you are? What was your name again?"
Yeah, that happens too, and it's surprising too. But it's surprising too who does remember you.
Yeah, it's interesting. Working for Ali Sadiq over at Magooby's, and then we had a great time, and I really liked his particulars because he kept the fridge stacked with Welch's grape. But after it's in his rider, it's amazing. And then
the soda or the juice?
The grape juice, in the cans. Yeah, and afterwards, maybe a year later, I'm doing this show up at the Abraham Lincoln's house or whatever in DC, the Improv,
famous comedy club.
And Matt Bergman was on it, and he goes, "I'd never met Matt." And Matt goes, "Oh, Petey, I heard about you from other comics." And I'm like, okay, thinking like it's probably going to be like I don't know, some local yokel or whatever. And he's like, yeah, Ali Sadiq, he thinks really highly of you. Like, wow. I was like, that's great. Come back, because he wouldn't have had any other way of knowing that. We weren't like Facebook friends or nothing. And then I made it a point, to go see him again. The last time he was at Magoobies, I hosted for him again, but in the last year. And I showed up, and he's like, how come you ain't doing the weekend? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, come do a guest set, like come tomorrow night, whatever. It's tight. So
that's awesome. I had I worked with Matthew Broussard. Do you guys know Matt Broussard?
Yeah, I did his girlfriend show last night.
Yeah. Okay. I just talked to him on Instagram today. We were just conversating. Oh, I'm gonna tell him that I just did a podcast with you.
Yeah. Well, I don't know him. I met his girlfriend and she has a show in Brooklyn. I literally did it last night. By the way, great show. It's called Brooklyn Underground, and she's awesome and super funny.
What's her name?
Yeah.
Laura Sogar, I think is how you pronounce her last name. But I'm
not gonna even attempt it.
I feel like she's dating a guy that a lot of people know, and like you can have a lot of people might think whatever about her because she's dating a comic, but she holds her own great, and she's super funny, and the show is great. Cannot recommend it enough. Brooklyn Underground. If you guys are here. Didn't
she just went for the Olympic trials for swimming, didn't she?
That's right. Yeah. She had a whole thing about that, but she's a really good comic. Really high energy. I like high energy girls. I feel like there's not enough of them. She was super high energy. There was like mic problems. She hosted it. And there was like mic problems with me. She handled it super well. It's just great. And
that's
great.
Awesome.
Sold out. Awesome.
Anyway, we did at the beginning of the pandemic. I was doing some voice acting thing for some voice acting project that's probably never going to see the light of day. But it had like Michael Winslow and Matt Broussard, and it's just not gonna go anywhere. But the last time I was at Magoobies, maybe back in May, I didn't know who the headliner was, and I was featuring, and I walked in, and the headliner was there, and everybody's wearing masks, and I was like, "Hey, how's it going?" He was like, "Yeah, Tommy, you're Tommy Sinbazo. I know from your voice. We did the voice acting thing." And I was like, then he took his mask off, and I was like, "Yeah, you're that Matt. You're Matt." And so it's just weird, the circles that tend to overlap and stuff.
Right. That's one of the things I love about comedy, though, versus, I did acting forever. I mean, I still do, but, most of my career has been acting, and there's so many fucking actors, and decisions in acting are not up to actors at all. Like, actors don't recommend each other or help. It's all these middlemen. And you also don't have to be like that skilled to do acting. And one of the things you really don't. One of the things I love about acting school, sham. Anyway, but one of the things I love about comedy is like it's small enough where everybody's like 1 degree of separation away.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely, 100%. You end up running into people all over the place. Hold on for 1 second.
Sure.
I'm recording a podcast.
Okay, I got the link.
Okay.
We're having issues with setting up a phone for Nia.
Okay.
ACC Telecom is going to call on Monday.
Okay.
To try to run through the process. I asked them to talk to you if I'm not here.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take care of it. Thanks.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Sorry, guys. Day job stuff.
Day job.
I thought this was your own office. I mean, it just looks so.
Yes, this is my comedy. This is just my writing studio.
Right.
Where I do all my comedy. No, apparently I work in an office full of boomers that don't know how to work computers. And I'm not the IT guy, but if the IT guy's not here, I'm the IT guy. And it's stuff like, no, your vehicle warranty they can't help you with the extended thing. Just hang up. And stuff like that.
So in your performance review, do you ever just go in and be like, I can shut this place down if you like don't rehire me and give me a 5%?
I do have
raise?
the passwords. I do have the passwords to do that. But no, I got fired I left this company to go to another company. Then after a year and a half, got fired from that company, and this company just took me back. And so I had to suck that dick. I'm like, I'm so sorry, so sorry, Daddy. I'll never leave you again.
Yeah, such is life. Sucking that D.
Yeah.
Well, so
let me ask. There's something. Hold on. I want to ask you guys a question. Now it's time to interview you guys.
Okay.
I recently had an interaction with a booker / comedian that books bar shows and fire halls that told me that the reason that they don't book me often to middle is because I end up outperforming the lineup and that I am not a team player and that I should learn to eat shit if I want to get paid. What do you guys think about sandbagging your set for a thing? To me, it's ridiculous. I personally think it's ridiculous to not go out and try your best. Because I think it's
a fucking idiot. Go to his show and do well and fuck him. I don't know who that is, but fuck that guy. Don't just go and do well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely obtuse. I mean, if you can't find somebody or you don't want to pay the nut to pay for a headliner that's even better with more time, well, that's on you. But if you're going to hire a middle act or a front act or whatever, you can't tell people, yeah, you got to pare this down. Now, I understand that content restrictions like Andrew at Magoobies, and you know this with me because I remember you gave me a guest set and then he was like, all right, that was fine, but I don't want any fucks in the future. I want this, I want that. Because a lot of these touring guys will put that in their rider. They don't want their thunder stolen. At that point, it's like a big business. But if this is like you're booking, you know, Barney's Beanery, and I don't want the fucking middle act to, you know, piss all over whatever friend of yours.
How am I supposed to know?
Handling.
Yeah, how am I supposed to know that your headliner or whoever's after me can't, you know, isn't prepared to do this show?
Right.
You know.
By the way, what I would do if I were you, I'd be like, yes, and then I would just go and do whatever I wanted.
Like, oh, that I like that. Like,
I'm not above any stage time. and I'm also not above lying. So I would just be like, yeah, okay. And then
just get off and say, hey, look, I tried to be 10% less funny. I'm so sorry.
That's it. You just tell them, be like, hey, I did my best to not be funny, but I crushed. Sorry.
Well, let me ask you this. Is there any incentive to behave? Like, is this guy going to book you again and pay you big money? Is it an expensive show? The
money's like $300 for like
a middle act. That's pretty damn good. That's like 2 shows in one. I understand.
Yeah, so it's kind of like
question.
It's not like it was drink tickets.
Go
out and eat shit for these drink tickets.
Yeah,
hey,
I would say,
if you want a crab pretzel.
I would say yes and do whatever you want.
Yeah.
That's just be like, okay, I'll eat shit and then be crush and be like, oops.
Yeah, sorry. I tried. Yeah. I tried to be bad.
Yeah, that was my best eating shit.
Yeah, I did everything but say the N-word.
Yeah.
How much more do you want me to do?
Yeah.
No, because here's what'll happen too. You'll crush, you'll get your $300, and if you do bury the headliner, which you probably will, they'll have to pay you for headliner prices next show. Because the same crowd at the fire hall say, hey, what happened to that guy with the, you know, jean jacket and the Under Armour pins? He was fucking amazing. That's happened with me with a lot of these local bars. You know, I'll put in middle act and then they'll say, we want him back to headline or whatever. And then I'll get booked like a month or 2 later.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's always been my thing. If you feel that you can impress the booker by going out and doing your best, if you're not the headliner, and then with my mindset is that if I go out and do my best and crush, then next time they'll put me at the headliner spot.
Yeah.
Right.
You're showing them what you can do.
That's right. I feel like you're going to get booked again. I mean, there's no way that like people are going to leave that show happier and the booker's going to be like, fuck that guy for making my show better. Like that's just not, that just doesn't make sense.
How dare he make those people feel like they got their money's worth?
Yeah. He might end up like that anger is just automatically going to get transferred to the headliner.
Mm-hmm.
You know? So yeah.
But especially when you're doing their thing is that, and they won't admit it, is that they're booking these fire halls and putting headliners because the headliners have name recognition. So they're getting ticket sales based on that.
Right.
And
I'm
sorry that no one knows who I am.
But that happens all the time, by the way. Like that's a big part of comedy. And like there have been a lot of headliners who have named feature acts that later blew up that were like, I was afraid to follow my feature.
Yeah.
Like that has happened. Like that's not an unknown thing in comedy. And I feel like the right kind of headliner will be like, fuck, that feature is good. You know,
Yeah.
maybe I should
As a headliner
agent or something, you know, like a good headliner is confident about that.
Yeah.
Not
like I've always thought, like if I do a show and someone buries me, okay. But if someone buries me, then it's my job as a headliner to then tell the booker, this person should be headlining. Your next show that you need a headliner, you need to book this person as a headliner. It's all about pulling up the comics that you see something in. That's and not pushing down comics because you want the spotlight.
That's right. That's right. And usually, I mean, sometimes I get it if it's someone who's like maybe a similar casting to you, but usually you don't get put as a feature if people are going to see two of the same thing. Sometimes I have been booked that way, which I think is always a huge mistake. And I always really get along with the headliner, whatever girl, because I'll get booked with like a girl that I'm like the same casting as. Those are always like the most fun to do because we become like best friends. But I always think from a booking standpoint, that's stupid. Because like if I do better, then it's just like, it's like two versions of the same chick. But like usually that doesn't happen. And when that doesn't happen, I feel like it's, you know, why not bring up that person, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to see my comedian friends rise above me. I don't, and even if they do great, it just pushes me to do better in myself. You know what I'm saying? Like I just don't get their mindset.
Yeah, a lot of insecurity up in this biz.
All the time.
Yep.
Well, that's where comedy comes from. It's a self-defense mechanism that we've found a way to make money off of.
That's true.
Yep. And we all thought it was, you know, about conquering our insecurities even. But once we found out money was involved, we're like, fuck that.
Not even
gonna tell my headliner to fuck off, you know?
Yeah, not even money. Like there's so much ego. There's so much ego and insecurity.
I gotta be the king of the fire hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, where you get people like, this is my fucking show. I heard there was comedian, I'm not going to name so comedian Justin Schlegel actually said that he was working with another well-known comic with a one-word name. I'm not going to say who it was, but it's not Gilbert, but the other half. And he said that.
I've worked with him.
But he said that he was working with him at the Comedy Factory. He did the first night. He said he fucking crushed, and then the headliner went up, and he said in between shows, the headliner passed him in the hallway and told him, stay in your lane. And then he got called into the office, and they fired him from middling. He didn't finish out the weekend.
Fuck off. Wow. Yeah. That's so fucked up.
That's insanity.
Yeah.
That's so fucked up.
Huh.
So there's a lot of insecurity where it could have been where the guy could have been like, hey man, I'm going to recommend that you headline here.
Yeah.
You know, I got told by the sweetest compliment that I've gotten from a headliner was when he was packing up his stuff at the end of the thing. He said, hey man, you are very hard to follow. And I mean that in the nicest possible way.
That's really nice.
And I was like, that's a bit, thank you.
Can you say who that was, or was that something personal?
I don't want to. I don't want to put him out there like that.
Yeah,
I like him.
I had somebody who very sweetly to me was like, I feel like you did better than I did today. And I was like, and that person was this person was like very nice. And it made me feel really good. And this person.
Yeah.
Was very sweet about it. And it was like, it was just like during the one show, but it made me feel so nice. And, there wasn't anything like weird about it. It was just like, well, I feel like that one, this person was just like, you did better than me today.
Now there is the other part of that where I did a show with someone that had been talking shit about me, and they were up. I told the booker to put me right before him and my whole intention was to just fucking bury him. So they had to eat dick because they had been talking shit about me.
Nice job.
There's definitely, I've only done that once though. And now now that comic and I are good friends. So.
Nice. I actually miss, before a pandemic at the draft house open mic, I started asking them to put me behind the hardest person to follow.
Oh,
Remember
I
this.
felt confident enough that if I bombed, like they would still book me as an open mic. And that was probably like the best comedic exercise I ever did. Cause like I had to follow some really difficult people and like people who were coming in like from LA, New York, and that no one else wanted to follow. I was like, I'll try. And it was like a
yeah,
50-50, but you have to turn your shit up. Like
yeah.
hit some of that energy.
If you do that, you got to fucking deliver. There's no like.
Yeah, and I
You put your drink. You don't drink that night. You get everything good to go.
Yeah, and I ate shit 50% of the time, but I feel like it was like the best learning experience.
But hey, 50% of the time you didn't, and that's what matters.
Right, like there was times like I followed Tayson Wilson once and crushed after him, and that was like, and he's so high energy. I felt so good after that. I was like, okay,
It's a great feeling.
yeah. I was like, you just have to go in hot, like on that level. Like you can't.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to hear about VR comedy? So I know we were talking about it before.
We were talking about that beforehand. Tell me about VR comedy during the pandemic.
Okay, we're now living in an age where there is a VR headset that costs $300 that you don't need to hook up to your computer. It's its own self-contained thing that you put on your head, and there's an app on there called Altspace VR, where a comic named Kyle Render, about a year ago, came up with the idea to start doing comedy in this social app. Where people are just meeting up and like people are doing karaoke and stuff like that. And he told some guy like, hey, we should try comedy in this. So now he has 3 comedy clubs in it, and there's shows Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. The only bad part is that it starts at 10 p.m. for us because he's in Texas. Right. So 7 p.m. for him, 10 p.m. for us. You make your own little avatar that is puppeted by your controllers and your head movement. You can move forward and back and everything. You can talk to people. And you go into this club, and it feels like you're at a club. There's a bouncer. The bouncer is dressed like Mario. His name's Arlo. Or his name's Argo. It's Argo. But I always go in, I'll dap up Argo, like, hey man, what's going on? And if people are making too much noise or being disruptive, it's his job to jump over the bar and just boot them out of the app. And there's regulars, there's people that come to every comedy show, but I've never performed for less than 40 people, and it's 40 audience members. It's not, their open mics have 40 plus people that are there to watch comedy. So you can try out material without having to burn it on comedians that, don't give a fuck. They're just waiting for their turn. And you hear laughter. You can they shoot emojis into the air and everything. And there's a green room where you can go and hang out with other comics and everything. Now, the guy Kyle is actually either tonight or tomorrow, this being the 25th or 20, this is the 25th. He's doing the first live action / VR comedy show in I think it's called the Space Bar or something in Vegas, where he has his lineup is going to Vegas. They're performing backstage wearing their VR headsets in the virtual comedy club. And then there's a 3-camera shoot that will be projected to a showroom in Vegas with a live audience, and a camera aimed at the live audience. That camera feed will show up in the VR club, so that comics can see the real world club and get, so not only do you have your 50 people in your VR room, but then however many tickets they sold for the event. And then at the end of the night, the headliner from that show, he's going to be like, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your headliner. The headliner is going to come out and do 10 extra minutes for the live action for the crowd. And then he'll say, thank you. And ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for your comedians that you saw tonight. And then all the comics will come from backstage. They had all been there at the same time. And Kyle's a great guy. And you really start, it's just so much fun. It's its own little community. It's its own little thing. And it feels like a cartoon dream world that you get to do comedy in.
Do you feel like this is going to be like the future of comedy?
I do feel that it has its place. I think that it has its place more than Zoom comedy does. Yeah, Zoom comedy is terrible. Yeah, I'm hoping Zoom comedy the Zoom comedy isn't going to die, but it's just going to limp along by, the roadside.
I think it'll just be a slow death. But
yeah, but this, I think, it has so many applications. Like a matter of fact, when I'm done with you guys tonight, I'm going to Ellicott City, where there's the Ellicott Silly Comedy Festival. We're going to try to put on a VR showcase at a virtual reality bar in Ellicott City for the comedy festival. And if that works, then that can be something, that can be a model that Kyle can then pitch to festivals all over the world, saying, hey, and then you can perform at a festival without even putting clothes on. You know what I'm saying?
That's nuts.
That's awesome.
I mean, this is a thing that probably Edinburgh would be interested in.
Right.
I mean, because they always like that fringe kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, it has it. I definitely think it has its place. It's not there yet. But it is getting close to being there. Especially now that there's a headset that you don't need a computer for. That for $300 you put something on. I play golf in it. I play games together with my friends
Oculus,
and stuff, and it's like
that thing?
Yeah, the Oculus Quest 2.
Yeah. I've heard about people watching porn on that and that being pretty insane also.
I wouldn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not why I bought it. I do get all my VR porn from a guy named Gary, though. Gary, if you're listening, shout out, Gary. Woo-hoo.
I want to try virtual reality comedy. I feel like it'll be.
I tell you, if you ever get access to a headset, let me know all you need. And Kyle likes that I keep bringing him comics, because anytime I found out a comic has a headset, I'm like, hey, do you have a demo of you doing comedy before the pandemic? If you have those two things, I'll get you in touch with Kyle, and you'll do the open mic on a Thursday first, and then you're open for Friday and Saturday shows. And now Kyle's to the point where every week he hits me up and he's like, hey, do you want some time this week? And I get to work on new material without having to go to a comedy club.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. My brother-in-law has one of those headsets, so I might borrow his.
You should steal it from him. Say, hey, you're not using this. Let me just take
he
this.
uses it. That's how I know about the
Oh, okay.
So you mentioned, Tommy, they give you like emojis and stuff on this VR, the audience does, but do they heckle through chat like the way some of these other shows have been doing, or do they give them that capability?
No. There's no chat. Everything is.
Oh, that's good.
I mean, it is a Sisyphean task to point. You have to point it to chat to someone. You have to point at them. You have to click, and then you click message, and then it'll bring up a keyboard right in front of you, and then you have to point at each letter.
Oh, okay.
It's so much of a so it's better to just talk to people. And anytime someone starts heckling or says anything out of line, the Mario Brothers jump on their head, and they're fucking out of there.
That's so
Awesome.
Cool. That's so.
It's wild, man.
How cool.
We saw a comic get thrown off stage for saying a racist joke. So it's just like real comedy.
Yeah.
He fucking, yeah. It was
a better bouncer, it sounds like.
There was if you ever have the opportunity to do VR comedy, I highly suggest. Matter of fact, I have a demo. I have a VR comedy demo that's like 12 minutes long. That it's just me doing a really good set in VR. So it's my avatar, and it's like a cartoon demo.
That's awesome.
Cool. I want to see that.
I sent it to a booker, and they were like, "Do you have a real demo?" I was like, "Yeah, okay, here you go."
Like, that's fine.
You want a flesh and blood demo? All right, boomer.
So old school. Yeah.
Oh, you guys are so old school. Can't believe you don't like this demo.
So, hey, tell us what you got coming up.
Oh, I got, I begged for work on Facebook, and it worked. So my calendar
I followed suit.
Yeah, I saw that. Did you get bookings out of it?
Yeah, absolutely. Almost immediately.
Oh, you did?
That's why that booker
worked?
Yeah.
I was like, that's not gonna
work. You just say
worked.
Yeah, because I was like, basically,
works.
I've got this headline set, and I think that's a way to sell it too, because it's like, all right, I got a goal. This isn't like Johnny Bananas here. I got a headline in a couple months. I need practice. We're getting out of a pandemic. So I was like, I need tens. I don't even need money like that. And people just started sending me all these avails, and some with cash too. So it's like,
wow, I can't believe that.
I have.
You need to do it too.
Just beg for work.
Yeah.
I
was like,
I even got
you do that. I was like, that's not gonna work. And it did.
There was even someone that I met. We had her on our podcast, but she runs. She was running Zoom comedy shows and then does live action shows. And she hit me up, and she's from Utah. And she was like, "Hey, if you want to come headline our show in Utah in October, we'd love to have you." And she was like, "Although it's a Halloween show, so you might have to wear a costume." And I was like, "Oh, you mean I get to perform in a costume? You want me to perform? Can I bring my dragon? Please let me bring my dragon."
Yeah, they're gonna make you do dress normal.
Yeah, what are you gonna dumb me down? I ain't eating shit for you. No, I'll be hosting Nottingham's on Tuesday. Well, let me do this. On Wednesdays, if any guys are listening, on Wednesdays on Facebook, if you go to Laugh Finder Podcast on Facebook, we do a show called Laugh Finder Game Night, where we will have a guest on. We interview them for about 15 minutes, and then the rest of the night we play Jackbox games with them and the audience. Like we'll play Quiplash, we'll play Joke Boat. We have a game called What the Dub, where it shows clips from old movies, and then one of the lines will be bleeped out, and you have to fill in what the line is, and then it reads it. So that's a lot of fun. I also have the Laugh Finder podcast that we record on Tuesdays. We just started our new season, our new campaign. So if you like comedy and Dungeons and Dragons, it's right up here. Even if you don't like Dungeons and Dragons, and just like hearing it's going to get us canceled one day. We say such horrible things on there. I mean, we're not Shane Gillis, but then I'll be at Twin Pan Z on the 9th of July. I have what is that? The Lou Room in Baltimore on the 23rd. We have Murder Mysteries. You can go to dielaughingproductions.com and check out those events there. Just all over my calendar. It's too full, really. Just look at if you follow me on Facebook, you'll hear about it.
Oh yeah. And you're going to be joining us for our show on July the 7th.
That's right, July 7th. You are booked.
That's what I meant. That's what I meant. I
Cinema
can't believe
Draft.
I mispronounced. Yeah, I mispronounced it and called it Laugh Finder. What I meant to say was
Draft Finder.
July 7th. I'll be and hey, what time is that show at for everybody?
7 p.m.
7 p.m. See, I knew. I got it.
7 p.m. Wednesday, July 7th.
I'm super excited about that. What?
Every first Wednesday of the month, the Countercurrent show. So next one, July 7th.
Nice.
Yep, we're gonna have a lot of great comics on there. We got some open spots still, so hit us up if you wanna.
Yeah.
Hey, can Eric Woodworth come? I'll get Eric on there. He can come, right? What's the matter?
I have no objection, Elena.
I don't know who that is, so I can't object.
It's funny. It's funny. It'll be funny. He's just the worst comic that I know. No, it's great.
No, he's fantastic. Normally, though, we don't really book until people been on the show.
Yeah.
But
hey, then I can tell him go kick rocks. You don't have to come.
Well, he could do the podcast.
I just want him to drive.
That's right.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Elena and I shall confer, because I actually would like to have him on the podcast too.
We could have chatted
and everything. He's
but
funny.
that's the rule. You don't get on the show until you do the podcast, which there are comedians that I refuse to book because they won't do the podcast.
And there's comedians that I will refuse to put on the podcast because I don't want them on the show neither.
That's right. Also.
Look out next week for Mom Tires. Comedian Mom Tires on the show.
All right, everybody. Well, we want to thank Tommy Sinbazo for joining us with us today. And where can they find you on social media?
You can go to TommySinbazo.com, but it won't really take you anywhere because my website disappeared. I have no idea where my website went, but it is not at the end of my URL. But you can always hear us on the Laugh Finder podcast. You can go to laughfinderpod.com. Yeah, that's about it. That's where you can find me. It's Tommy Sinbazo everywhere, on Facebook, on Twitter, Instagram, Grindr, wherever you want to find me. I'll suck your
All
dick.
facets. Yeah.
Whatever. I ain't above it.
Hey, let's get it. All right, cool. Well, follow us on Countercurrents DC on Instagram and the Facebook page, Countercurrents Steelborn DC, Elena Blondita on Instagram. I think she still has Twitter. I do not.
I still Twitter, but I don't really use it, and I'm probably going to delete it soon because that's the kind of thing. If things go well, I'll get canceled for some bullshit I did years ago. 100%. I would.
Oh yeah.
So
Clearly.
Oh yeah.
So I should just get rid of it. So don't follow me. Just follow me on Instagram. That's
Amen. Stick to pictures, no thoughts.
That's right.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Tommy, thanks again, and we'll look forward to seeing you.
Hey, thanks guys for having me. This was a blast. I'm looking forward to working with you guys. That's gonna be great.
Great. Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll eat shit for you guys if you want. I'll sandbag my set.
Oh.
Gee.